podcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, I'm Brad Codd, and this is the $1 Million Teleseminar System. If you're a professional who makes a difference and a living as an author, speaker, coach, consultant, seminar leader, or online information marketer, then you're in the right place. I've got something very special for you today. As you know, I'm famous for producing some of the largest virtual events in the world, and I have the experience and systems you need so that you too can use the phone, internet video, and live seminars to build your authority and credibility, attract tons of new customers, generate significant income, and make the world a better place. In the past 4 years, my team and I have produced more than 1,200 interviews, and I consider myself to be very fortunate because while doing this work, I get to meet and learn from the greatest thought leaders and visionaries of our time. Friends, today it's my great honor and privilege to introduce you to such a visionary leader. His name is Dave Van Hoos, and he's achieved something so remarkable that I just had to make the time to introduce you to him and let him personally share with you the blueprint he uses for his presentations. As is typical, I met Dave when he appeared as a guest on one of the teleseminars I produced, and immediately I knew that he was doing something unusual because the volume of sales that he was generating was nothing less than awe-inspiring. I got even more excited when asking him how he was able to achieve this incredible level of success when he shared with me his presentation blueprint. Not only is he skilled at promoting his own product, but, and this is what got me so excited, he has taught hundreds of professionals like you and me to consistently and reliably achieve the same results. He has already made a huge difference in my business, and I'm confident that he can do the same for you. So Dave, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule today to help my friends take their presentations to the next level. Where do you want to start?
Well, what I want to do is I want everybody to know that I came here to serve and give. And one of the biggest things that I'm passionate about is empowering leaders to empower the world. And through my experience, which I'll share in a moment, of how I've done over 5,000 stage presentation, did over $14 million in 1 year from the stage, I learned that selling from the stage or doing interviews, there is a mathematical science, and very few people, speakers on the planet, know this science because they didn't have the opportunity like I did, Brad, to do 5,000 presentations. Now, people got to imagine this. I was speaking at lunch and at dinner almost every single day, selling the same type of product to the same type of clients. And I got to test, what color shirt do you wear? What color tie do you wear? And then I learned about NLP and became a stage hypnotist and learned about a lot of very advanced language patterns. And so today, it's my passion. I love to teach and empower speakers and show them this information. So we're gonna have a lot of fun. So Brad, so the good thing is that I've been doing this for 10 years. We can take this anyway. So let's go ahead and do a real poll real quick. I just want to ask the question so that I can better help serve everybody. And this will be an interactive workshop. This is a small workshop. I imagine everybody on this call is a thought leader, professional speaker, and so we can be very transparent with you. If you could just kind of just click in there, just let me know where you're from, and are you a speaker? And then my next question is, are you a platform sales speaker? Are you a keynote speaker? So I know how to create this message and this training. So if you could just take the time real quick, just tell me where you're from. Are you a speaker? Are you a platform speaker? Or are you a keynote? Or are you presenting on webinars like this so that we can really gear this technology for you? So just go ahead and take the time to do that right now for me. Awesome. Well, Brad, we're getting a lot of fun. I see we have some speakers here. I see we have some internet marketers here. I see we have a lot of people that want to learn how to sell from stage, and we're going to have a lot of fun. So what I'm going to share with you and teach you today here in a moment is how to speak powerfully, close authentically, and profit outrageously. In fact, one of my mentors shared this with me: make service rather than money your goal, and you will see your entire plan of life change, and you'll never be able to be left out. In fact, it's in giving that you receive. And so I want to share with you that what I'm about to share is very powerful technology. In fact, I'll tell you a quick little story about how I became a speaker. And Brad, you know this, is I grew up in Michigan. My background was I was a professional football trainer. And unfortunately, I had a serious injury where I had to reinvent myself. That's when I went out down to the courthouse in Clearwater and saw a foreclosure auction. Imagine this. I saw my first foreclosure auction. I even saw him bid off a house at the courthouse for $100. But when I was down there, I had this idea. I'm like, what if I took this foreclosure information and put it onto a website and call it foreclosuresdaily.com? So that was my first idea to start a business. Now, I took my credit card out and started this business. And I thought, like most businesses, I thought if you had a good idea, customers would show up. So, Brad, I launched my business the first month. Guess how many customers I got?
Not what you expected, I'm sure.
It was zero. So,
Zero,
Brad, I did
yep.
what most entrepreneurs do, is I made the product better.
Yes,
Second month,
build a better mousetrap.
guess how many customers I got?
No change, zero.
Yeah, right. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
define about customer acquisition. How do you get a customer? And so at one time, Brad, I'd really rather goggle razor blades than ask somebody for $99. So long story short, I found out that speaking and selling is a system. And in my evolution as a business owner, I started to get smarter in innovating myself. And so what I found is instead of speaking one-to-one, I started speaking one to many. And that's kind of how I found out about speaking. I got about 25 of my ideal customers or clients to a Denny's restaurant and did my presentation and made thousands of dollars. And so long story short, I did more presentations and more presentations. And within 3 years, we grew my company Inc. 500. But here's what's the most important thing. I was able to do something very few people on planet Earth have the ability to do. And that's to present 5,000 times to the same type of people, figuring out what causes somebody to make a buying decision. And that's where we're going to dive down very, very deep. In fact, it's going to be very advanced information. So if you're a speaker, if you're somebody who knows NLP or hypnosis or have heard of this, you're going to be absolutely fascinated when I break this down, this system. So for me, one of the things that I found to be true for me is this, is speaking is the most profitable learn skill set. And what I mean by that is Tony Robbins wasn't born with a microphone in his mouth, was he? So in fact, this is a learned skill set that very few people have taken the time to master. Now, we're going to go over this here in a moment. And just remember, it's a learned skill set. So we're going to go over, dive down into it today. Now, I've seen a lot of my clients, make the Inc. 500. And I've seen a lot of people just take their business to the next level. And what I mean by that is I was working with one of my clients. And Brad, you know this. I write about, just so everybody knows, I write about 100 presentations a year for some of the top thought leaders in the country. So I had a client into my office. His name was Rich Sheffrin. I was writing his webinar presentation. And he says, Dave, people don't understand it. They have nothing until they have a converting offer. I'm like, what'd you say? He's like, you have nothing until you have a converting offer. And that's true. You could build your whole business around one amazing presentation. And that's what I did at Foreclosures Daily. I crafted my presentation, scripted it out word for word, and did it over and over again until I made the Inc. 500. And so that's what we're going to focus on here is how do you write your core story, your webinar present or your stage presentation to get customers. And that's what we're going to dive down here. So this slide's right here is put in here because 2, 4, 6, 8. What do you think the next number is? Next number is 17. So I want you to consider some new concepts and open your mind up to some very powerful things, because what's going to happen is I'm going to go very deep and very advanced. And what will happen is if you're not ready for some of this information, it's going to actually, you're going to close down. So I want you to open up to some new possibilities and consider some new concepts, because this stuff is going to be very, very powerful. We're going to share with you. In fact, Einstein says, problems cannot be solved by the same level of thinking that's created them. And that's why I'm here today to share with you new possibilities. Now, one of the things I want you to understand is this, is write this down. All buying decisions are based on emotion, backed by logic. And so, Brad, I want to ask you this question. What part of the mind is the emotional mind? Is it the conscious or is it the subconscious?
I guess that it's the subconscious.
The subconscious. That's correct. And in fact, this is what the subconscious is. Most of our communication, most of our language patterns, most of our senses are created through the subconscious. And so, what I want you to share with you, I'm going to be sharing a lot of subconscious communication. This is below the awareness. And let me give you an example. Brad, have you ever seen like one person do a presentation and put everybody to sleep, and then somebody come up there and just captivate the audience and basically grab their attention, and at the end tell everybody to get up and run to the back of the room to give them money? You ever seen that before?
Oh yeah, it's the most incredible thing to experience. It's magical.
And in fact, because that second speaker has learned how to communicate to the subconscious. And in fact, how I found this out is because I became a certified hypnotist and NLP practitioner. I started incorporating these into my presentations. In fact, Brad, when you came to my seminar, I literally told everybody, I've got a bag of air for $12,000. I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm doing, and you're going to run to the back of the room and give me $12,000. And you saw it. Wasn't it pretty fun?
It was amazing. I was one of the people. It was just incredible. The way that you put the whole presentation together, you really had to be, I don't know, stupid not to go back and take you up on your offer, because the way that you described everything, I could see so clearly how my future was going to change working with you, that yeah, it doesn't matter what excuse that I came up with. I had no choice. I had to, because I believed in what I was doing and believed in myself. I had to take you up on your offer and get involved. And boy, oh boy, my life has completely transformed in the 30 days since I had that experience with you.
That's pretty interesting that you say that, and that's one of the things that I tell people is that when I write these presentations, is what we do is you want to overcome every objection in your presentation. And I'll give you a super ninja strategy. So if somebody has an objection, let's just say you're writing a presentation on real estate, and their objection might be, I don't have the time to do real estate deals because I'm working, or I don't have the money. So let me give you an example. So I used to do my old foreclosures daily presentation. At the end of it, I said, everybody get up right now and get to that back table. People would run back there. Somebody would come and say, Dave, I would get your foreclosure system, but Dave, I don't have the time to do real estate. So he was holding on to that one objection, and that was going to stop him from listening to me or taking an action. So then what you want to do is, the best way to overcome objections is through case studies, social proof stories. So then I would go to my office, find a testimonial of somebody who had my program that says, Dave, I took your real estate system. I did my first deal part-time and made $32,000. Then I might have another guy say, Dave, I would get your system, but I don't have the money to do real estate. So then I would get a testimony that says, hey, Dave, I did my first real estate deal, no money down. So that's one of the phenomena that you got to experience, Brad, is that I overcame every single objection in your mind, that the only decision you had left was to not walk, but run to the back of the room. And that's one of the things we want to go over today, is how do you create a presentation where literally people are willing to give you $12,000 in 90 minutes. That's a very, 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 very challenging task to do unless you know all the different strategies that we're going to go over. Now, there is a difference between teaching and selling. And what I mean by that is there's probably a lot of good teachers. And what happened to me, what happens to a lot of us that are presenting and speaking, or even trying to sell something, we want to teach. And we think that the more that we teach, the more that people are going to learn and then want to buy our products and services. And so today I want to share with you the truth. Now I'm just sharing with you what I've learned through my process, through my experience. And so what I found out is that the more you teach, the less you sell. So what you want to do is you want to become an infotainer, where you're building value, but you're exciting their imagination, getting them excited to buy your product or service. So there's a fine dance you have to do that we're going to go over, of how you can still build value for people. But we want to make sure that at the end of your presentation, that they run back to consume your product or service. We're going to talk a little bit about what's the difference between teaching and selling here today. We talk about converting. And that's what this talk is about. So if you're somebody who is a teacher, who isn't trying to get somebody to buy a product or service or get somebody into action, then this presentation isn't the right one for you. But if you're looking to inspire somebody to take a bold move and to buy your product or service, this is the presentation for you. So I'm going to teach you a little bit about conversion and closing. That's what this is going to be about. Now, one of the things that I've learned, Brad, I've been in this industry for a decade, is that 95% of most people in this industry will fail within 5 years. And that's a huge statistic. I see a lot of shooting stars, but I see very few people that stay up in the sky. And so as a business owner and as a strategist, I investigated, why do most businesses fail? So I went to the Small Business Association and investigated why. And the number one reason why most people fail is because of a dysfunctional sales process. Now think about this. You can have the best idea in the world, but if you can't get a customer, you're going out of business. You can have a business and have the best management in the world, but if you can't get a customer, you're going out of business. Getting customers is like oxygen into your business. And so I want to spend a lot of time breaking down, how do you create your message to get somebody in the door of your product or service. So we're going to go with that. Now, most business owners and most marketers, they don't have a script. You've got to have a core story, a presentation script. It needs to be scripted out. Most people don't know how to close. They get up on stage or on a webinar. They don't know how to convert. People don't know how to anchor themselves down, which we'll talk a little about stage anchoring. They don't know how to convert to sales. And they're just lacking a lot of the systems to be successful, and they can't get consistent results from their webinars or stage. So we're going to kind of go over that here in a moment. I see so many people leaving money on the table. In fact, Brad, I get to work with all the top speakers in the world. In fact, I just had Tony Robbins' son in my office. And you would think after all those presentations and all that he was leaving so much money on the table. I actually fixed his presentation for him and helped him put his presentation together. And now he's speaking all around the world, converting at a much higher rate. In fact, let me share a quick story with you. Some of you might know this gentleman here. His name is Davin Michaels. I met him about 3 years ago. He was one of my clients. He said to me, he says, Dave, I'm a speaker. I've been in the entertainment business. I don't need speaker training. I know how to do this. And so he got his first big opportunity to speak in a big conference in Vegas with about 2,000 people there. And he got up on stage, did his presentation. And here's one of the worst things that can ever happen to you. At the end of his presentation, he said, everybody get up right now and get to that back table. And nobody did. And so from there, you've got to be very cautious, because if you're getting on people's stages, you've got to know what you're doing. So I fixed his presentation, and rewriting his presentation the right way, he's made $3 million by this information I'm about to share with you. So we're going to have a lot of fun here. And what I want you to understand before I begin is speaking is an art and a science. What I mean by that is you still are the artist. I'm going to teach you the mathematical blueprint, the scientific science behind writing a presentation. And the analogy I can create is similar to this. If you're a musician, there is a science of how you make music. There's notes, and you still get to be the artist. So you are still the artist. I'm just teaching you the science. So you being the artist, your intention. Are you truly there to help people? You need to speak from the heart when you're presenting your message from stage. You need to be authentic. You need to have integrity. You need to have magnetism. You need to come to serve. And you got to be 100% transparency with people. And you need to speak the truth. So that is the art. That's you. You need to be the artist. Now we need to go over the science. And one of the things that happened to me, Brad, is that Dave Van Hoos can only do 2 presentations a day, 5 days a week before I lost my voice. And so I had to duplicate myself. How do I duplicate myself doing these presentations? And so that's when I really started to understand that speaking is a science. And so I had to create a system that was easy, predictable, scalable, trackable system. EPSTS, and that's what we're going to go over. In fact, I did a lot of modeling when I took my business Inc. 500. I studied what Ray Kroc did with McDonald's. And one of the biggest things I got is you want to create a system-dependent business, not a people-dependent business. In fact, that's what we're going to share with you, how to create this presentation where it's not built around you and your personality. So how many of you would love to speak on some of the biggest stages in the world, right? Well, this is me backstage when I used to speak on the Get Motivated circuit. I used to follow a guy by the name of Zig Ziglar. I used to speak in front of 10 and 20,000 people. And so why do you think I was able to speak on some of these big stages? Because I could do what? I could convert the sales. And so I want you to be honest with yourself, truthful, and I'm going to ask you this question. Imagine this, picture this. What if we put all your ideal prospects into a big stadium or onto an online webinar? Could you deliver the perfect message in the presentation to get those folks to buy your product or service? Imagine that now. Could you deliver the perfect message? Because my partner can show you how to get your ideal customer onto a webinar or into an event. In fact, back in the day, Brad, I don't know if you know this, my company, foreclosuresdaily.com, we had over 135 employees. But here's what's interesting. We did over 2,000 seminars a year. And so we know how to get a butt in a seat, get your ideal customer in a seat is one part. But the second part is how do you convert that person when they're there? And we're going to go over that here in a moment. So Brad, you know, I've worked with so many different speakers in so many different industries. If you know some of these speakers, I've written their presentation for them. So I want you to think of the speaking business as the acting business. A professional actor doesn't write their own script. A professional person does. And that's what me and my company do, is we write the scripts for all these top presenters in the world, and then they rehearse them just like an actor. And that's what you have to consider. Now, Brad, are you ready to get to work here?
Yes, bring it
All
on.
right.
I recognize like a third of the people on those lists, people that I've actually worked with personally. That is a stunning lineup of people that you've worked with. You've really attracted some stellar talent.
And the beautiful thing is that they get it. As a speaker, I want to challenge you to be the best in the world. If you're not the top one or two speaker on every stage, you're not gonna make it in the speaking business. So I need to empower you now by learning, how do you become the number one or number two closer on every stage? How do you become the best presenter? And that's really where you need to challenge yourself. And so that's why we want to go over the presentation blueprint. Now you can see this in front of you. So now when I write a presentation, and Brad knows this, there's 5 key components to every presentation. Now I want you to grab a pen and paper out. You're going to really want to write this down, because this information took me over 10 years to figure out, and 5,000 presentations later, and writing over 100 presentations a year later. So there's 5 key components when I write a presentation. The first thing is the introduction, which is one of the most important things. The second strategy is the story, how stories sell, facts tell. The third is the offer, which we're going to go over here in a moment. Then we've got the body, and then we've got the most important thing, which is the close. What's the most important thing? The close, right? So now let's dive down it. So when I write a presentation, just like I did for Brad, what usually happens is somebody like Brad has a specialized knowledge. And if you're writing a presentation, let me give you some pointers. Most people start with the first slide. When we have people come into our office, which we call our power day, we start with the end in mind, and we create what they call the irresistible offer first. And so I take them through a process which is called the hot button close. And so you want to write your offer first, and then mathematically backwards, you want to build your presentation. Now, these are the 5 key components to building your presentation. You've got the introduction to your presentation. Now, the introduction to your presentation is one of the most important things, because what happens is within the first 5 seconds of your introduction of your presentation, 90% of the buying process has already occurred in their mind. They've already made a decision in their mind. So knowing the introduction is so important to your presentation. In fact, what you what you want to consider is having somebody introduce you from the stage. Very, very important. Or creating an intro video before your presentation. In fact, I've been giving so many presentations, my voice is a little bit hoarse here. So let me get some water real quick.
Yeah, what I like about this whole blueprint that you've put together, Dave, is that someone like me that is really good at what I do, I'm a very competent person technically. This sales process is a complete mystery to me and very intimidating. But after going through a power day with you and you walking me through this entire process and putting together the presentation that I now use, it is so liberating because I have complete confidence now that I just follow your blueprint step by step by step. And when I get to the end, there's no stress, there's no anxiousness. It's just fun and very logical and very easy. And the results are my. How many millions and millions of dollars have I left on the table over the years?
Well, you bring up a good point. There should be no pushiness to your sales process.
Yeah.
If you're doing your presentation, it's almost like swinging a golf club. It should be effortless. And you're right. When you get to the end of the presentation, there should not be no awkwardness or no pushiness. If you follow the system correctly, which we're going to go over here in a moment, it will be effortlessly by the time that they get to the end of the presentation. Here's the key. In their mind, they'll say, I want and I need that. It's what they call non-resistant selling. Actually, with what they call covert commands, which we're going to talk here in a moment about. And we're going to take people through the process. So the introduction is strategy number one. So let me give you a couple key strategies. Let's just say you're speaking on the circuit. Let me give you a super ninja strategy. Let's just say you're speaking at Tony Robbins' seminar. Now, what will happen is when you speak at these big conferences, they'll usually have an MC introduce you. Now, if you've been on the speaking circuit, you know the MC will probably do a bad job of introducing you. So a better strategy would be to go over and ask the authority, the person that is the authority. So let's just take an example. Let's just say Tony Robbins. The reason why everybody there is because of who? Because of Tony, right? He's their trusted advisor. So what you want to do as a speaker is you want to come over to the authority and say, hey, listen, I'm speaking next on your stage. Would you mind introducing me and telling people how we met? What do you think the expert's going to say? Absolutely, right? Because he's a talker. So now what will happen is here's the key. When Tony comes up and introduces you, you might say something like this. You know, in a moment, I'm going to introduce Dave Van Hoos. And, you know, Dave is somebody who has actually trained my son and worked with a lot of the top speakers. And today he's going to share with you about how to add speaking to your business. Let's give him a warm welcome. Now, the key is this. When you get it from the stage, here's what you want. You want to make sure you get the handshake or the hug so the transition of power becomes you. Now you're their trusted advisor. So when you speak, they listen. So make sure you get that transition and step into that space. And then you're now their trusted advisor in their subconscious. Now, after you get introduced from stage, strategy number two, which is you need to grab the attention of the audience. Now, most people do is they get up on stage and they talk at people, kind of like a football coach talking to kids. That's a bad strategy. A better strategy to excite their imagination, bringing them into your conversation. So we're going to use an NLP technique called Have You Ever Wondered? So Brad, on this call, give me an example. What might somebody be trying to sell that might be listening to us right now so I can demonstrate this strategy?
Well, we have a lot of teachers and coaches and mentors that help people achieve goals and help people accomplish things that they're very passionate about.
Okay, very good. So let me give you an example. So if you're a coach or a mentor, what you want to do is when you get up onto the stage or on your webinar is you want to excite their imagination. And you want to use a little trigger pattern called Have You Ever Wondered? So you could say something like this, you know, have you ever wondered what it would feel like to be able to wake up every single day and never have to go to your office again? Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to be able to travel the world and spend more time with your family doing the things you want to do? Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to be able to live in passion and purpose every single day? And so now what we want to do is we want to excite their imagination, bringing them into our conversation. Then after you do that strategy, the next strategy is strategy number 3, which is introduce what they call the yes state. All great successful salespeople know that 7 yeses equals a sale, right? Consider this. The audience can do one of two things. They can agree with us or they can disagree with us. So what you want to do is small agreements. You're going to want to write this down. The very first cell of the presentation is getting the audience to agree with you. Because remember this, small commitments equals big commitments. And what I mean by that is if you can't get them to start saying yes to you by raising their hand, they're not going to do the big commitment, which is run to the back of the room. So introduce what they call the yes state. Strategy number 4, when I write a presentation or you do your presentation, is what they call framing. Now, framing is a very powerful persuasion technique. And how I can explain framing is this. The mind is very similar to a computer, the analogy. If you give a software to a computer, that software will run the computer. The same thing in the mind, in the subconscious mind. So what you want to do with the frame is you want to tell them what they're about to experience. And if you future pace them here and you tell them what they're about to experience, they will experience it. It's a very powerful thing. The other thing you want to do here into the frame is what they call open looping. Open looping is a very amazing pattern that you can do. It's almost like if you consider this slide is the front page of the newspaper. All they're doing is grabbing the attention and open looping you so that way you will listen to the whole newspaper, the whole presentation. Then after you get into framing, the next thing you want to do is get into why your topic. So why your topic? Sell them on the excitement of the benefits of your topic. Then when you get to the next part, which is why now? Because doing presentations, if they don't buy, Brad, if they don't buy at the end of your presentation, what is the likelihood that they're going to buy in a follow-up process?
No, that's it. They're done.
They're done. So we got them to get them to take action when? Now. So right now, you need to sell them on, wow, now is the time. Then you're going to come up in the introduction, and then you're going to come to the credibility. Because imagine this. If I was speaking on stage talking about real estate, or Donald Trump was speaking on stage talking about real estate, who would they listen to more? Right? Donald Trump. So you want to be the authority. So when the authority speaks, people listen. So in your presentations, you want to let people know that you are the expert. Things you can consider like, do you own your own business? How many years you've been involved in business? Have you been on TV? Are you a published author? Are you a speaker? And what you're doing is you're building up your authority status. And because people actually, you'll have a much better influencing on them. So that's how you do the introduction to your presentation. Now you want to come in to the second part. But real quickly before I do that, Brad, let me tell you a quick little story about Dr. Emma Jean. Dr. Emma Jean came to me. She's actually a preacher. And she actually speaks in front of 20 and 30,000 people about the message of God. And what I mean by that is whatever you're trying to influence somebody, you're selling something to somebody. So these techniques are really good for selling a product or service. They're also very, very powerful to influencing people in whatever you want. So these things can be used for all different kinds of things. And we've worked with Dr. Emma Jean and really helped her present her message to the world better. It's been a lot of fun. So the next thing you need to do in your presentation is the story. Now write this down. Stories sell, facts tell. Human beings through our history love stories. Think about this. Cavemen have painted stories. The Egyptians have stories. So human beings love stories. Now, when you get to the story part of your presentation, I want you to understand this. The story is put in there. It is basically a covert way to sell. So when you engineer your story, because your presentation needs to be engineered, crafted out a certain way. You just don't go up there and present. You have to engineer it with these techniques. You want to make sure that your story, you tell your story. Now, here's what I know to be true, is that the more you have in common with people, the more they will buy from you. And the other thing is the more you could talk about your failures, the better off you are. So let me give you an example. Everybody loved the movie Rocky, right? You know, Sylvester Stallone struggled. And then at the end of the movie, one punch, he doesn't even win, and people love it. So the more transparent you can be, the more vulnerable you can be, the more influential you'll be. And so make sure you tell people your story. Now, when you tell your story, then typically what's going to happen is you're going to have a crash. And for me, I was a professional football trainer. Everything was going great in my life. And then one day, I broke my back and I was paralyzed. I had a serious sport injury. And then I take them down that crash. And now here is very advanced strategy. What you want to do is when you take them down that crash, then you want to have what they call a pivotal point. And that's where you want to anchor down your product or service. And then because of real estate, and I point at the product, and because of real estate, my life is like this. I get to travel the world, spend more time with my family, and life is good. So make sure when you tell your story that people love to hear your failures, you take them down to crash, and then you have a pivotal point, something changed, and hopefully it's your product or service. And then because of your product or service or this knowledge, your life is better. And that's usually how the best way to engineer your stories correctly. Now, let me tell you some very advanced storytelling, because I teach very advanced storytelling. This is how powerful stories can be. Brad, have you ever watched a movie where midway through the movie you lost track of time, or you felt like you were in the movie and you were part of it?
Yeah, those are the best movies. The time dilation, just completely get immersed in the experience.
And what happens is that when you get immersed in that experience, then you become really involved with it. And so great storytellers can tell the stories and people will lose track of time. And they'll be so involved with that and that story that they believe it's them. Now, there's ways to actually do that, which I don't have a lot of time to go over it now, but to be able to tell your story where you captivate people so that they're hanging on to every word. And that's really what you want to do in your story. Now, some of the things you could do in your story that really help that experience process is when you do the crash, you want to stop time. And you could say something, I'll never forget that moment, and stop time where my boss left me, I got divorced, or I started my business. I'll never forget that moment. You stop time, and then you captivate into your story. And then you really become then you're communicating at such a deeper level to them and connecting at such a more emotional level. The other strategy that you want to do, and Brad, you know this, is that when most speakers, they speak on the stage, right? That's where a speaker's supposed to be, right on top of the stage. Well, let me share this with you. That's the worst place for you to be. You're probably saying, what, Dave? I'm a speaker. I'm supposed to speak on stage, right? No, that's the worst place for you supposed to be. In fact, think about this. If you're on stage and the audience is there, there's like an imaginary line, and picture this. It's like you versus them. There's a resistance. And so what you want to do is when you tell your story, you want to get off the stage and get out into the crowd. And so what I'll do when I tell my stories, I'll get off the stage, I'll come out to the crowd, and I'll walk over and put my hand on somebody. Because when you connect with one, you connect with all. So if you're doing live presentations, know that story time is connection time. That's where you're going out, and we probably don't have a lot of time to go over stage anchoring, but that's really where you want to build a rapport and get rid of resistance. Now, after you come to your story, strategy number 3, but before I do that, I want to tell you about Rob here. Again, we get to work with so many different speakers, and helping them. And it's just by doing this, it absolutely takes their conversion to a whole nother level. So now we're going to come down to strategy number 3, which is the offer. Now, what most people do is they'll wait to the end of the presentation to let people know about their product. That's the worst thing you can do. That's like the pink elephant in the room. So I want everybody to write this down. Once somebody experiences something fully, it vanishes, right? So once they know you have an opportunity at the end, then that resistance is gone. So at this part of your presentation, what I want to tell you to do is stop selling and start solving problems. Now, I want you to understand this, how human brain works. The human brain goes from pain toward pleasure. That's like the biggest motivation that's happening to all of us. We're trying to remove pain in our life. And so all you need to do is target their problem, elicit the pain, and then offer them the solution. Very, very easy. So what I'm teaching is what they call non-resistant selling. And Brad saw me do it so perfectly and effortlessly that I did my presentation. I even told people what I was doing, and they were professional speakers. They still, in their mind, had to run to the back of the room and give me money. Even though they knew what I was doing and they knew nothing better, they just couldn't stop themselves. And that's what this blueprint will be able to do for you. You'll be able to get more people to consume your products or services, which at the end of the day is going to improve and better their lives. So what we want to do here is target the problem and then offer them the solution. Then we're going to come down, which is to number 4. But before I do that, this gentleman here came to me. And of course, he's been involved with the seminar business from the time he's a tiny little boy. And his father is Tony Robbins. And so again, even Tony's son was blown away about how easy it was to deliver presentations using this presentation blueprint. And it was amazing that it was literally Tony Robbins meets Dave Van Hoos. I got to kind of put my system with him, and it was absolutely amazing to watch it. Now he's speaking all over the world, speaking in China, Tokyo, Japan, all over the world. And now he's got his presentation. So we get to work with all kinds of fun people. And Brad, you know, a lot of the top speakers in the world that we work with, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very, very impressive. And so that's really what attracted me to working with you, because once I learned that you were the secret source, the man behind the curtain for these people that I had been seeing on a regular basis getting incredible results, it was a mystery to me, and I thought it was just a talent, or it was just luck that they were doing what they were doing, until I learned about your presentation blueprint. And then that's why I'm so excited to share it with everyone that's in my community, because I've worked with primarily people that are interested in promoting what they're doing on teleseminars. And what we're talking about here today is absolutely, absolutely, absolutely essential for every single one of the people that I work with. They just have to take advantage of this knowledge here, because it can completely change their lives.
Well, one of the things that, and Brad, you can know this, it's Pareto's principle. I'm not sure if everybody's heard of the 80-20 rule. And it is absolutely amazing how numbers never lie. And in fact, I'll give you an example. I went to speak, Brad, over in London at the World's Speaker Summit, all the top speakers in the world. And I got to present. And obviously, I was there to present, and I sold my complete speaker system. And I literally, people ran to the back of the room, and people couldn't believe it. When the dust all settled, they did a graph of all the people. Unfortunately, he had like 12 selling speakers, which I highly recommend. If you're going to be doing events, don't have Pitch Fest. But this gentleman didn't really have my training, so he didn't realize he had 12 selling speakers. And in fact, he did the statistics that about 80% of all the buying units came from the top 2 speakers. The rest sold maybe like 1 or 2 units. And the number 1 guy was me. And then the second one was my student. And combined, we sold almost all of the cash flow. And I know you doing a lot of these teleseminar summits, you probably see very similar statistics.
It's exactly that pattern. We have 24 speakers in every event, and we've got 2 or 3 speakers that knock it out of the park, and then there's this huge, huge gap to the next person, and then there's a whole cluster of people that perform at that level. But yeah, the people that perform exceptionally are totally, totally remarkable.
You know, for me, it was a trip to go to Europe. It was a lot of fun. You know, that's a 20-hour plus plane ride or whatever it is to get over there. But here's what's interesting. I got to come back with $150,000, and the rest of the speakers got to come back with $2,000 to $3,000. They barely even covered their flight and their cost to be there. And so that's a lot of time and effort, and it takes very little time to learn this blueprint, this system. And so that's how powerful this system could be in your life. So A, you could be like the rest of the speakers and struggle, or B, you could be the 1 or 2 making all the money. And that's the Pareto's principle. It's not the 80-20 rule. It's the 20% of the 20%, the 4% club. That's where you've got to challenge yourself to be at. And if you're not in the 4%, you've got to listen to me very, very closely, because we want to empower you. Now, in your presentation, when you're doing your presentations, the next thing you're going to come into is the body of your presentation. This is where you're going to do the teaching part of your presentation. Now, here's what you need to do. Throw the ego out the window. Most people want to get up there and teach and impress people about how much they know and the bigger the words that they can sell. That's not what you want to do. What you want to do here is you want to chunk it down, because as soon as it sounds too hard or it's too confusing, people disconnect. So it's very similar. I can give you an example. Would people rather go see a college professor or go see a movie? They want to see a movie. So what you need to do is you need to become an infotainer. And so what you want to do here is you want to break down your presentation into 5 steps or 5 pillars or 5 keys. You want to chunk it down. Now, here's what's get really interesting when I engineer these talks. And Brad, you know this. So let me ask this question. If you taught something to somebody or told them a story, what would they remember more?
Oh, the story every day of the week.
And you have to think about this. When people make a buying decision, do they buy the intelligence or do they buy results? Results, right? So if you watch an infomercial, do they teach you or tell you success stories? Success stories. So what you want to do here is you want to teach, tell a story. Teach, tell a story. And what you want to do is in your presentation, you want to have 7 success stories. So here's another way to look at it. The best salesman in the world is the best social proof storyteller. So if you want to get better at communicating, connecting, and selling more, learn and master the art of telling stories about your customers. So you want to come in and you want to teach them. And then from there, you want to have case studies. People buy results. You want to have success stories. Then when you come up to the body of the presentation, remember this. People don't buy features. They buy benefits. So, and Brad, it's amazing. I've been doing this for 10 years. 4 o'clock in the morning in this blueprint, I got up, and at 4 o'clock in the morning, I go, it hit me. I was reading a book by my friend Brian Tracy. It says, selling is an even exchange. In fact, when somebody makes a buying decisions, the benefits outweigh the cost, and then they'll exchange. The exchange process will happen. And I thought about it. People buy benefits. Why doesn't anybody put in their presentation the benefits of their product, right? Everybody's trying to sell the product. People don't buy the product. So right when you get to the close of your presentation, you want to list out the benefits of your product. In fact, you even go deeper than that. They buy the benefit of the benefit. So you want to come in, sell them the benefits, show them the lifestyle, and that gets them excited to buy. Now, Brad, have you ever seen when certain speakers are presenting from the stage and they get to the close and you see them get real tight and you're like, oh, he's trying to close? You ever see that before?
Yeah, it happened to a really good friend of mine. I was very, very embarrassed for him. It was actually tragic because he'd spent 3 days knocking our socks off and yeah, we were just transforming, and it just a huge, enriching experience. And then right at the final step there, he stumbled really, really badly. It was my heart really bled for him.
And it's such an easy shift. So how many of you would want me to share with you so that you're not the person that when you get to the close, the energy changes, people know you're trying to sell them, they can absolutely see. In fact, we got to remember this. When people are watching you as you're presenting, they are seeing everything. Their subconscious mind is seeing if you're stuttering. They're seeing the sweat. They're reading the body language. They're seeing all this, and this is giving them the stories, that the impressions that they're creating. And so, and what I mean by that is, for me, when I watch speakers, because I watch thousands and thousands of hours of game film on speakers, watching them and watching their patterns and how they present and their tonality, I can literally see and hear a speaker speak for 3 seconds and know the outcome of their presentation just by the tonality, by their body language. And so you don't want to be that person. So when you get to this part of the presentation, when you're coming into the close, the best way to segment into the close is to ask a question. How many of you would be interested in learning the exact system that I use? How many of you would be interested? Okay, great. Here it is. That's all you have to do to segment into close. Just ask a question. How many of you would consider learning more about this system? Okay, great. There it is. And then the transition is so easy. It's effortlessly. And now you're coming into the close. Now, when you get to the close, you want to make sure you speed up. What most people do, they get to the close, they'll slow down, they'll talk fast. In fact, I don't know if some of you might have heard of this guy named Russ Whitney, one of my clients and friends. Had one of the biggest seminar companies united in the world. And he told me he did over $1.2 billion with a B in the speaking business. Had a huge organization, over 2,000 employees. We helped him mathematically build out his presentation. He's launching a new amazing brand with Hangouts. And so again, no matter if you're a beginner speaker or even an advanced like Russ, this presentation blueprint will make it that much easier and effortlessly for you. So now we come into the close. Now, when you come into the close, you want to present your product. You're going to present all the different components into your product. Then what you want to do is you want to start building the massive value. And when you get to the stack slide, which is the summary slide of all the different components that you get. So imagine this. You ever see when the speaker gets to the end, he says, okay, you're going to get this, you're going to get the boot camp, you're going to get the coaching, you're going to get the checks and forms, you're going to get the quick start guide, you're going to get the marketing system, you're going to get all this different products or service. What they don't do, which I'm going to empower you with, is when they come up with the total price, what they'll do is they'll come up with the total price of maybe $10,000. And then what they'll do is they'll do a price drop. But what you need to do is you need to sell people on retail before you drop the price. So I'm going to give you a secret ninja pattern called the if-alls. So I want everybody to write this down, if-all. So Brad, give me an example of somebody who might be on here so I can demonstrate this right in front of everybody.
Okay. What exactly are you looking for?
Well, I'll use your product or service or somebody's. So.
Oh yes, okay, let's do that. Everybody's familiar with what I do.
So obviously, Brad is the teleseminar guru, and we helped him create a course. And so when he gets to his close now, and he's going to say something. So you're going to get the Financial Freedom Teleseminar System. Included in the system, what you're going to receive today is you're going to get the complete step-by-step playbook. I'm going to share with you step-by-step of what to do. Bad over $2,000. In addition to that, you're also going to receive today all the checklists, all the interviews, exactly how to do that. That over $500. In addition to that, I've also included something really special, which is my technology, my automation, so that you can easily and effortlessly put these together. In addition to that, I'm also going to give you a quick start coaching call, and I'm going to give you a complete workshop. This program is valued over $15,000. Now, what most other people would do is they would discount that $15,000 to $2,000. But they forgot to get the person to say yes to the $15,000 first. So let me show you how easy this can be. So let me ask you this question. If all the system did for you was show you and teach you how to put on an amazing teleseminar summit, and you made over $250,000, would it be worth the investment? Yes or yes? If all the system did for you was show you how to become the authority person in your industry, the go-to person because you did his teleseminar series, would it be worth the investment? If all the system did for you was show you and teach you how to become financially free, so you can spend more time doing the things you want to do in life, would it be worth the investment? So what he's doing is right there, he's getting him to say yes 3 times so that when he makes the price drop, they shoot to the back of the room. Now, what I'm going to share with you is this stuff is so powerful that we're going to close in different segments, different waves, because if we get too many of the people to the back table too fast, I'm so good, I got to slow the process down. So I got to have them go in waves.
What
So
a wonderful problem to have.
In fact, I actually spoke at 2 big conferences. I might mention the name, but literally it was such a stampede. They came to me after and they were mad at me. I'm like, what's mean? Well, such and such was such a big rush back there. Somebody, their computer dropped. There were so many people. I'm like, well, what do you want me to do? Like, that's my job, isn't it? To get everybody to run back to buy the product or service. And then I did another one when I was in London. So many people came back and ran back that they actually broke the back table. So it's a lot of fun. Life is fun. You just got to make it fun. So when you come into the close, you want to sell them on retail. Then I've been researching this. This is very important. I want everybody to listen to me and focus. The number one reason why people do not buy your product or service is because this is their biggest resistance, is because they ripped off by somebody else. So what you want to put is a guarantee, a money back guarantee. So a reverse risk. Now, Brad, I want to ask you this question. Since I've had so much opportunity to test all these different little things in the presentation. So when you create your money back guarantee, I'm going to ask, and let's create a poll. I want to ask everybody this right now. So when you create your money back guarantee, what pulls the best? Is it a 7-day money back guarantee, a 30-day money back guarantee, a 6-month guarantee, or a 12-month money back guarantee? So I want everybody to poll, write down which guarantee do you think is the best. So after 5,000 presentations, I tested this. I tested every little thing that you can imagine. And Brad, which one do you think was the best?
Well, my guess would be the 12-month.
You would think that, right?
Yeah.
And here's the stats. It didn't matter. It was just that there was a guarantee.
So when our merchant account insists that you only offer a 30-day guarantee, otherwise they get all nervous and upset, go with it. 30 days works just fine. Thank you very much.
It doesn't matter. So if you have a 30-day, 7-day, whatever your guarantee is, you have to have a guarantee. Then after you have the guarantee, then you want to come up and you want to have fast action bonuses, because we want to make people take action when? Now. So when we write our presentations, you want to have 3 to 4 fast action bonuses. Now, typically when you do your bonuses, there's a whole methodology into it. I don't have a lot of time to go over the bonuses, but let me give you an example. Sports Illustrated. Sports Illustrated would sell magazines, right? When they added the bonus of the football phone, their sales went through the roof. A phone has nothing to do with a magazine, right? But it's amazing. So when you put these bonuses in, people buy for the craziest reasons. And in fact, I used to do a lot of research and study a lot of infomercials. And we do a lot of infomercials, and you'd be crazy about the buying decision. So when you create your bonuses, you want to have some fast action, outrageous bonuses. Then what you want to do is you want to come back around, and what most people forget to do is a call to action. You got to tell people what to do, right? And so you got to tell people what to do. And then that way you take them through the close process and it works very, very well like that. And this process, if done correctly, and Brad, you saw, is like effortless. It works every single time, no matter what industry you're in. Just you take this blueprint and you plug your product or service into this blueprint, and it works every time. And Brad, I hope everybody had a lot of fun. I just wanted to share it as much as I could. I know we didn't have a lot of time today, but I really wanted to empower. I know that you're always looking for people to do interviews, and I know if I can show you how to empower people to present their product or service better, you're going to make more money. They're going to make more money, and everybody's going to be happier. And there's going to be more customers buying these product services, changing their lives. And so, it's Brad. It's been an amazing year for us. We've written over 100 and something presentations this year, and some of the most amazing things. In fact, Brad, I just wrote a presentation last week from somebody from Holland who is an expert in cosmetics and facial. And she's actually writing a program to empower beauty from the inside out. So I get to write all kinds of amazing presentations for anything you can imagine, from Forex to real estate to personal development to anti-aging, all kinds of amazing things. And I get to test all these different verticals. And that's where I came up with this mathematical equation. So if you're somebody that's considering, you want somebody like me or my company to write these presentations, and I got to tell everybody, it's not for everybody. In fact, I have to interview people. And Brad, you know this, the spiritual journey that I'm on. I had two people 2 years ago hoodwink me, come in, claim to be an expert, claim they had a product that was going to better help the world. We built their presentation. We showed them how to launch their business. They did 20 million in 12 months. Find out she was a false prophet, never even did a real estate deal, didn't even know how to do it. All these poor people bought her product, and she basically ripped them off. And so for us, if you're somebody that would consider want to work with us, it's an interview process. I got to make sure that your intentions is good, that you have a product or service to better the world. And so if you want to have somebody like me write your presentation, consider that. We'll talk a little bit about of how we can do that here in a moment. Brad, I wasn't sure if anybody had any questions. I'm not sure if you could see any questions that anybody would have that we can do before we end this call.
All right. Well, let's just have people type in any questions they have on the right-hand side there. Do you have someone that can see those?
Yeah, we get some questions coming in. You know, the typical question that I get is, hey, Dave, will this work for webinars or will this work for the stage? Absolutely. This blueprint will work for your webinar presentation or your stage presentation. You just follow the blueprint and it works every time. Let's see if we get any questions.
What if you hired to speak and the organization prefers that you are not to sell from stage, but it is okay to have back of the room?
So that's a great question. So who's that from, Dustin?
That's from Karen.
So, hey, Karen, so the question is, as a speaker, this will happen. In fact, I'm getting ready to do a gig in Bimini, and they're paying me a lot of money to be a keynote, which I really don't do keynotes because I'd rather speak to sell, because instead of making 10,000 or 25,000, I'll make 100,000. So what happens if you're doing a speaking and you're there to just only deliver content, but you can have back of the room? So one of the strategies we do for that is you'll deliver content, build value, and then what we'll do is at the end of it say, how many of you would like for me to custom create a plan for you, or to sit down and to build this value for you? And I'm not sure if you're a coach, and so what you could do is have them run back or go back and set up for strategy sessions with you. And then you can sit down one-to-one and then custom convert them into your high-end package. So I don't mind doing a full content because what will happen, instead of selling a $2,000 course from the stage, I'll then sit down with them and then get them into my $25,000 and $50,000 packages is one strategy. Strategy number 2, which you could do, is what they call a room separation close. I did this at a huge conference last year. They had me present. At the end of it, I wasn't allowed to sell. And so what I said is, how many of you got some massive value? And what I'll do is I'll do a hard stop at my presentation. And I'm like, man, I only got to get through 20% of what I really wanted to teach you. I've got another 80% left. Here's what I'm willing to do. I've got a separate room over here, lunch for everybody or dinner. We'll do a special breakout. The conference continue. And then you can send them over and take them to lunch or dinner and then be able to get them into your selling environment. Now, before you do any of these strategies, it's absolutely imperative that you talk to the promoter first, because you don't want to go in there and turn and burn and do all these different things. Make sure you're in alignment with the promoter. Let them know, hey, I'll come give content. I'll give amazing content. Would it be okay with you after I'm done if some people came over and I bought them lunch, or if I sat down and did some coaching calls with them? So just make sure that you're in ethics with them and do that. Any other questions, Dustin?
Yeah, this one comes from, I think it says Verge, and it says, what about selling on a webinar?
So on a webinar, all these strategies are absolutely going to work on a webinar. You want to make sure what's really converting best for webinar presentations is about 70 minutes. And if your product or service is under 2,000, you can sell your product or service on the webinar. If it's over 2,000, it's a 2-step sales process. So let me give you an example. So me and Dustin wrote a presentation for a company called Iron Tribe. They're a franchise, and they sell a franchise package. The investment is about $400,000. So what we did is we wrote the webinar presentation. Franchisors would watch the webinar presentation on an automated webinar, and at the end of the webinar, they would apply and put a $5,000 refundable deposit. And so if you're selling high-end products on a webinar, what you do is a 2-step process. You drive the traffic in, they watch the webinar, and then have them fill an application. And then your salesperson will then talk to qualified prospects, because somebody listened to it and then applied. They're going to be much easier to convert than people on the phone. Dustin?
What if, how does this apply to when you're being interviewed on a teleseminar?
Oh, that's a great question. So in fact, Brad, I know you have a script that you've used for your teleseminar series for 8 years now? So what are some of the things that you've made changes to? I'm going to hear from Brad first, and I'm going to tell you, answer that question for myself. So what were some of the things that you saw going through this process that you made adjustments to your interview style?
Well, the script that we were working with was very, very successful. The best that we ever did with that script was $200,000 in sales off a 1-hour interview, and did more than a dozen that generated over $100,000 in sales, and more than 50 that generated over $50,000 in sales. So, the script worked really, really well. And it was very, very clear to me, though, that once I learned your presentation blueprint, the sequencing of the way that we were doing things, there were so many opportunities for refinement and improvement that comes the new year, especially with the launch of the teleseminar event that I'm going to be producing with you guys, we're going to completely change that script, which we're really very happy with, and we're going to take it to a whole nother level. And so, it's basically what people have learned here today in this presentation is what I'm going to start teaching, and I'm going to model and change our interview script to go through this sequence, because it's just so natural and so easy and honestly fun. It's exciting and an exhilarating process to go through. So instead of it being work and only a few people can get it right, I feel that your formula is much, much more achievable and much more attainable than just every now and again bumping into somebody that can deliver that script that we were using. This is for the masses. Everybody can get success with your formula.
From your background, and so when I did the interview with Brad, that's how I met Brad. They had me come on and do an interview, and we did really, really well. And so, just like Brad said, so the technique I'll do is if I'm doing a webinar or a stage presentation or getting interviewed, I will follow this mathematical formula and take people down the same process, almost like you're taking people down a path to get to this conclusion. And what it is remember, you want in their mind for them to say, I want and I need this and buy. No pushy sells. And so when you're doing the interview, you want to make sure that you give the person your questions. So that way, again, you're doing the introduction, you're grabbing the attention, you're introducing the yes state, you're framing your talk. Then from there, you're going to have them ask you a question. You're going to tell your story. You're going to target a problem, offer the solution as your product or service. Then you're going to come into your 5 strategies or your 5 keys, which is your body of your presentation. And then at the end of the interview, then you're going to ask the question to segment into the close. And then you're going to go right through the close process, and you're going to actually outsell everybody on that Teleseminar Summit. So I hope that answered your question the best that I could. So if any of you are considering having us sit down with you, and if you're looking to speak on more stages or really grow your speaking business, we own a company called the 7-Figure Speaking Empire. Probably all of you have heard of it, because if you're our speaker, you know who we are. We work with all the top speakers in the world. If you're interested in us working with you to write your presentation, get you out on the circuit, you can apply here. Like I said, I made a huge shift in my organization. I'm not for everybody. I've got to make sure that the people that I work with, intention is out there. They've got to have a product or service to better the world. They've got to want to help people. And so if you're somebody like that and you really want to get to the next level, fill out that information. We'll sit down with you. I'll have Jim sit down with you. My speaker concierge is take a look at what are your challenges and see how we can help you out. And we'd love to help you any way we can. If you're looking to get on more stages, let us know. We do a lot of events. Our clients do events all around the world. They're always looking for top speakers. Let us know if you're looking to speak on gigs, if you're looking to improve your presentation, or if you want to do your own events. We used to do 2,000 seminars a year. We can show you how to put your own seminars on right in your back of the woods. We're experts at that. So if you're interested, just go ahead and apply there. It doesn't cost you nothing, and we'll see if we can help you out. Any other questions, Dustin?
Yeah, this one comes from Cindy. What if your product is brand new and you don't yet have any client success stories?
That's a great question. So we write a lot of presentations where some of the folks have products and some of them don't have products. And so for us, what we'd like to do, if you don't have a product, actually, it gives you an advantage of working with us, because we can write the presentation first and then you can create the product second. That way we can write the most persuasion talk first, instead of you saying, I've got a product, let's take this round peg, put it in a square hole. So if you're in that situation where you just got your product done, you don't have testimonials, here's my recommendation. I would let 4 or 5 friends, clients, whatever, have your product for free. Frame it, say, hey, listen, I'm launching this new product. It's $1,000, $2,000, $5,000. I'm willing to give it to you for free, but here's what I need you to do. I need you to go through it and give me a testimony or some feedback of the results that you got from this product. So don't be afraid if you're just launching your product. Get some users using it. Let them be a beta test. Let them know, I'm going to give it to you for free, but I would love to get your social proof and your information is one way. Another way that we do this is, of course, you've gotten results. So if you've gotten results, let's just say I'm writing a presentation on real estate. The guy's a very successful house flipper, and now he wants to become a speaker. And he's got this product to do people, but he's never had anybody go through his program. So what we'll do is for the testimonials, we'll use his house deals in the presentation. That way he's still got testimonials in there of him using it. So like, again, if you don't have people that have testimonials, you can use your social proof, or like I said, you could do a beta test and have people testing your product or service out to get those case studies. Dustin?
The only other one that we have is it's a question, and it's I thought you earned the right to speak and tell your story first, and that comes from Verge. So can you talk a little bit about the right to sell or the right to speak, I should say?
Is that the right to tell? Be more specific. The right to tell your story during your talk.
Yeah, like what gives you the right to stand up in front and talk to me? I believe is what he's saying.
Okay, so let me try to answer that question the best that I could. So the reason for you to be up on stage, I get the right to speak on stage. Of course, it should be uh, your credibility, and I think that's a huge part. So that's part of it. Two, having the person that's putting on the event introduce you as the right, as you are the expert to do that. The other thing I might be thinking that you're asking the question is during your presentation, how can you just tell your story? You need to sell them on the right to tell your story. And I think that might be the question that you're asking. And here's how I do that. So instead of just get up there blabbing your story, I'll do a little pattern. I'll say something like this. You know what I found to be true in life is that smart people learn from their mistakes. How many of you agree with that? You know what's pretty amazing is smarter people learn from other people's mistakes. Would it be okay with you if I shared my mistakes with you? Boom, I got the permission. Now I can tell my story. So I think that's the question you ask is how do you get the permission to tell your story? And you just need to ask them. How many of you would want me to share my story with you? And get them to say yes, and then you can share your story with them. I think that's the question. So awesome. So that's the question. I hope you guys had a lot of fun. Let me know if there's anything we can do to serve you. Brad, I hope you had a lot of fun. I hope this improves your teleseminar summits by getting people to convert and communicate at such a high level. Again, if you want to talk to us about having you write a presentation like we've done for all the top guys in the world, just go ahead and get a hold of us there. We'll sit down and make sure it's a good fit. Brad, any last words? You went through the process. What was your experience like?
Oh, it was so empowering. I've achieved some incredible results. I'm famous for being the guy behind some of the largest virtual events that are out there, and yet I didn't have a clear path. I didn't have a clear track. I didn't have a blueprint. And so I had all this potential, and in working with you guys, you've basically now given me a blueprint to express what it is that I'm doing and productize what I'm doing. And I was one of those people that we did the presentation first, and then we built the product afterwards. And so we ended up with this presentation that is virtually perfect. And so I've just been really thrilled. So friends that are listening here, watch my journey. I'm on the same journey that you're on, and I know that you have something special to share with the world. I've found my gift. I've always known what it is. I'm now blessed with the opportunity through my partnership with Dave and Dustin to be able to productize what I'm doing and get it out to a wider audience. So if you have any ambition to amplify the results that you're getting, go to SpeakingEmpire.com/growth. You'll see a picture of Jim on that page, sitting in his chair there. He's an awesome guy. You're going to love having a conversation with him. So fill in that form, and then Jim will get in touch with you and find out what it is that you're doing and see if what Dave is talking about here is going to be of any value to you. And if it's, you're going to have the experience that I had where it became very clear to me that this was the next step for me in my business, to start sharing my message with a much, much broader audience, then if you get the same sort of feeling and you have the same aspirations, then definitely go to SpeakingEmpire.com/growth, fill in that form, have a conversation with Jim, and get connected with these guys, because they can totally get you to where you want to go. I know they've done it for me, and I'm confident they can do it for you as well. So Dave, just want to say thank you so much for taking the time out today to share this amazing blueprint that you've distilled from 10 years of experience with my friends. And there's anything that I can do to support you guys in what you're doing, all you got to do is pick up the phone and ask. I'm a huge fan, and I'm really grateful for what an amazing blessing you guys are in my life, and the change that you're making in my business, and all the people that are dependent on earning their living, working with me and partnering with me. It's just very, very exciting, the future that we've got opening up in front of us now as a result of meeting you guys. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome. You know, if you're a speaker, just take the time, fill out the application, talk to Jim, get us on our radar. You know, we work with all the top speakers in the world, do thousands of events around the world. I get calls every single day. Hey, I got an event going on. I need 5 speakers. Let us know. Let us truly help you, connect you. The Speaking Empire is a company that wants to empower leaders to empower the world, and that's my mission. And if I can do that in any way possible, just let us know. So thanks, Brad. And you know, I hope everybody got some massive value, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Rains. Until next time. Bye for now.